Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Right now I'm going to show you the real-time process of this watercolor painting with the subject of a boat in a misty atmosphere. And this time we are going to incorporate two major colors, the green one and the orange one, to have a contrasting effect and to give that intense. So right now I'm having a study. This is a contrast study. We will going to see what are the effects of this study of compositions. Here we are free to have some adjustments, and it is also a part where you're going to have a hint of what it will look like at the end of this process. You're just going to scribble here and there, and the amazing part of doing this is because you're going to have a free form. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be good. It does have to deliver the composition that you're going to need in your painting process. So as you can see, I'm just going to scribble here and there, and yeah, just enjoy the process. Next is to have the final massing of this piece. I started off with the grid form. You can skip this part. It is the process that I'm going through for me to have this is of composition. It can be imaginative. So this part is to help you to identify the shapes, the form, the outline. It doesn't have to have these heavy lines, darker colors. The light one will do. It is to outline the mountain, to outline the boat. It is to guide you. And I'm using also an eraser to lighten some heavy lines. So you just need the moderate one, the moderate grade of your pencils. I'm also doing the reflection part, as this process also is very vital. In here, it does have to have some realistic effect of the scale. We have to be precise also in doing this painting. But the difference was this part of the process doesn't have to be much detailed because it serves only as a guide. I'm also drawing some horizons, as it will identify how deep this water goes. Okay, moving on to the next part is you're going to tilt this paper. This will help us in painting that it will not dry on a certain space. It will just going to run down on the bottom part that will make it to have a smooth and gradient effect. So here I started off with the sky. I wet the paper with water while mixing the two contrasting colors of orange and blue. These colors can also create an ideal gray for our painting, as well as to include this, you will also going to produce vitality and a gradient effect that doesn't have a harsh lines or a harsh connections or a harsh edge. You will also tilt the paper so that the pigment will not stuck, and you're going to observe that the pigment and the water are flowing downwards. That was the purpose of us tilting this piece of paper. We're just going to do that until the very end process. Right now, I will continue on the lower level, putting some blues and letting it mingle with the orange color. And now, we are done on our first layer of the process. This painting is an experiment for me, as I would always have sharp line on my painting before, and now I am trying to incorporate blurriness and distance to this scenery. As you will observe, I am using the largest possible brush I can have to make this painting work. Remember, the bigger the brush, the more you can use it on a big massing, and the smaller the brush, the more you can use it on the detailed one. Let us continue with the pause, strategizing what step we will going to do next, and it's okay. Here, I am using a color that is yellowish with a touch of green. I am trying to achieve a forestry looks using a layering technique. With the use of water, it can serve as the layers to put on our pigment. As you will notice, the colors are exploding smoothly, not introducing harsh line. I continue this process while adding some color and touch of darker green and blue. This is one of the strengths of watercolor that makes it unique also in form. You can experiment while watercolor are doing the work. In misty atmosphere, there are fog, unclear, and mysterious spaces. There are some tall trees, but how can we achieve it? This is new to me, and here, as you observe, I am experimenting how this can be possible while delivering the message of a misty atmosphere. You're just going to continue to form the outline of the trees here and there. putting heavy pigments here and there, and I think this painting kind of delivers some hope to me. I also added some touch of red to help them stand out still, making it more interesting. And don't forget about the highlights, as it will also give life to your painting. When the colors are grouped together on a certain space, I gently lift them with a dry brush. Continue the process and put some effects in stippling. It can get very tricky on what technique it is adaptable to use. So you can also test them on the paper on what you prefer. Continue the process of stippling. If you want a misty atmosphere, make sure that the surface is still moist for it not to produce harsh lines or harsh edges, and also right amount of pigment in the right amount of time. Right now, I've begun with the layering technique. I started to darken some parts to help emphasize distance and mass of the trees. This is pretty interesting for me. Continue the process up to the right part and observe them how they can be unclear yet still hoping to deliver the atmosphere we wanted to achieve. I continue to build the layer on the left side of the surface. On the right part, I continue to color the surface with pigmented yellow and green for it to stand out even more. In painting, I believe you can express what you feel and what you wanted it to be at the very end process. That is the freedom and like a pause that is so good. Painting almost always is one of the spot where I felt I was able to express my thoughts and my emotions. In this painting, I started to give definition to the horizon, and as you will notice, the paper is not 100% completely dry. There are some damp spots that help the color bleed on a certain space. My experiment of style can be different to another piece if I recreate it. I think it describes how a piece of work can be different from another and how every piece speaks a lot about the style of the artist, how they detailed it, the emotions, and the feeling. Seen from the reference, it serves as my guide where the sun is giving light to a certain portion. With that, it helps us to give shape to the mountain and identify its volume. I continued to paint the mountain in different versions, carefully lay the colors, but at the same time having the freedom on placing them on different spots. It is also pretty good to see how the colors of yellow-green, dark blue, and darker green blend with another color. Watercolor also requires control and attention to the detail. In control, you're gonna spot where to just go and where to stop painting. There are some instances that you cannot lift the color. That's why layering can be a good technique, as it will help you gradually decide when is enough. Attention to detail adds a lot more about the composition, where you wanted the eye to focus on and to focus less. That helps us to understand the form, what spots should be humbled and what spots should be put on the subject. In here, I am letting the watercolor do its strength, letting them do the character on a certain spots. Continue to add pigments of greens and dark green to different portion of the paper. Stippling is really helpful and beautiful technique. I've been applying it to a couple of my paintings before because it got lots of detail onto it and how they can be pretty expressive in form. I try not to overwork the painting as it can also be reflected on the end process. You can always take your time on strategizing when to place colors and what colors to use, what degree and heaviness can be incorporated. Practice and practice and practice in improving day by day. As of now, I went to work on with the bottom part of this painting, which is the lake or the river. It is in color green, reflecting the lush green of the forest, and as you observe, I am putting lots of stipplings as it will magnify the crystallizing effect of the sun as it hits the surface of the bodies of water. The stippling are not in solid color. There are some that has a bit of hot colors in it to give it an interesting effect and gradient. Seeing on the reference, you will notice that not all the portion I paint is in stippling because there is some portion that has a huge mass in it, signifying the depth of the bodies of water. The lighter the color, the shallow it is, and the darker the color, the depth it can be. Here also I am layering it, and while it is still moist, I am adding different colors and darker colors to achieve the depth I am aiming. Well, this is also my favorite part in rendering. Reflections can be pretty useful to achieve the realistic effect as well as the light, the shade, and the shadows. Here I am mimicking the wave or form or movement of the lake, the horizontal one, as it can give a vibes of fluidity and dynamics. I also tried to mimic what it is reflecting so it can serve as the mirror of the forest. An artist says to me that in practice is to try to observe how these movements are formed and reflect it on the painting. Highlights or the lightened part helps to bring back the liveliness it can give, the luminosity. I just like how the darker colors blends with the lighter color and follow that horizontal strokes. It is by slowly taking the pace while still appreciating the stillness of this painting gives me so much happiness and joy. And as of now, I am giving and producing some tiny details to the painting. As you also notice, there are tape all around the border so that we will have a more neat outcome. Just be careful on removing those stuff guys, it can get pretty messy along the way. I continue to put pigment on this reflected part, also a touch of darker ones, as well as giving some gradient effect to a more livelier outlook. Then I proceed to the boat with an orange color or red-orange, and as you will notice, the complementary color of green is red. That is why this color combination also helps the reddish colors to stand out or pop out even more. There also I added some blue to the color as it will help to grade the effect as the sun is against it. I also put some human figure and to suggest also the scale of the painting to help in delivering the message. Scale is a helpful part of the composition for us to see or imagine the size and the hugeness of it. I continue with the reflection. Sometimes in watercolor painting, you will let the time pass by. You will let the wet surface be a little bit dry so that you can try different techniques. As you will notice on the boat, I wait till it is semi-dry in form so that the contrast that I wanted can be applied, or the dark one can be applied. I continue the process with the sun reflections on the surface. These white dots gives definition, characteristics, and ambience to the scenery. That's why in observing the reference, you will also notice different elements that helps the scenario in a cohesive whole. I place lots of contrast and give defined edges on the main subject. Also, there are unwanted placement of colors. The after effects when it dries, I give adjustments to that to help cover it. Process or painting process is really important. There are times that the reference can be a bit overwhelming, yet if you do it one by one or little by little, you can attain the end process of the painting you wanted to achieve. Painting is one of the things I do the past few days. I'm really excited what is it out there. Here I am putting the date and the signature of this painting. It is a memory, it is capturing how the process can be. Sometimes I'm still trying to figure or I'm still trying to see what can be adjusted to the form until I can say that this is it for now.
Thank you so much guys for watching and for painting with me. What are your thoughts, comments, recommendations, or suggestions of what I'm going to do next or what you wanted to see next? Thank you so much once again. See you next time and